Welcome to Built to Go, a van life podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Wagg, coming to you from the College of Curiosity. This time it's episode 277, and we've got a special episode here where the entire episode is going to be devoted to one topic, and that topic is talking to cops. Yes, my friend Hal is a former officer of, well, I'll let him explain. And he's going to give us an officer's perspective of how you should deal with cops, what you should do, and what you shouldn't. But before we get into that, I have a correction from last week. Well, not a correction, just something incomplete that I need to address, which is driving without an alternator. Remember last week I said that if for some reason your alternator's not working, you can use your leisure battery or whatever for 12-volt power and go a little bit longer before you have to worry about your alternator not working. But somebody in chat thankfully pointed out that if your alternator is not working because the belt broke, you've got other problems, and this is absolutely true. In the Tiki Bago, when I was crossing Grants Pass and the water pump froze, the belt heated up and snapped. And yeah, I didn't have an alternator at that point, but I also didn't have a water pump. That's a much more serious problem. So if you're in that situation, know that making the batteries last longer is not the fix. That's a way to help you limp a little farther. You also have to watch the temperature, because if your belt is off or broken, you likely do not have a water pump. Your engine's temperature is going to go up very, very quickly. And if you've got a Sprinter, you may not have a temperature gauge, as mine didn't, which is one of the dumbest design decisions I've seen in a van ever. Just word to the wise. If for some reason you are not getting power from your alternator, it's a serious problem. Take it seriously. But yes, you can use your leisure battery to add a little bit more power to the rig so you can move it a little bit farther. And before we start the interview, I want to yell out a special thank you to Alex from Australia, who was kind enough to donate at buymeacoffee.com/built2go. That's 2 T's, not 3, not 1. Because of him, there are no ads in this podcast, and I thank him very much. And I also thank the folks who donate every single month. Thank you guys so much. If you would like to help support the podcast and keep ads away, visit buymeacoffee.com/built2go, and you can buy me a gallon of whatever you think I need. Thank you, everyone. Now we're going to dive right in here and have an interview with Mr. No, not Mr. Lieutenant Dr. Colonel, anyway, we'll figure it out. So I have here with me, let's see if I get this right, Lieutenant Colonel Hal Bidlack, U.S. Air Force retired, no, I missed one, didn't I? U.S. Air Force retired PhD. Did I get it all? There's more in there, isn't there?
Well, Dr. Professor Herr Colonel is the usual.
Herr Colonel. Yeah, that's
Herr
a little
Colonel.
too on the nose these days.
Yeah.
At any rate.
You can call me Hal.
You can call me Hal. There was a song about that. No, that was a little different.
There's a movie about that.
So, Hal, you have had many jobs or occupations in your life.
Yes. Not compared to you.
But still an appreciable amount. I mean, everything from working at McDonald's to teaching cadets at the U.S. Air Force Academy. And as if that wasn't enough, you also were and I'm not sure of your exact title here, but you were a police officer attached to the Air Force Academy in some way.
Yes, I started off as a finger-on-the-button guy in nuclear missiles.
That's right.
And then I ended up much of my career teaching at the Air Force Academy, teaching political science, American government, the Constitution, things that really, really, really need to be taught these days on a much wider scale.
Yes.
And in my last couple of years of active duty, I ended up doing over 25 years of active duty. My wife had passed away, lost her to cancer in 2003, and I'd always been interested in police work. And the academy, the Army has what MPs, military police. The Air Force has SF, security forces. And so I was SF, but for every practical purpose, think of it as military cop. And there was an augmentee program because there were events, because it is the Air Force Academy, where they needed extra police, usually football games.
Okay.
And so they would have augmentees that they would bring in for minimal training, basically enough to carry a gun and a radio and have some police authority to guard places people shouldn't go. You got thousands of civilians coming on base. Somebody makes a wrong turn, tries to go up in the cadet area, that type of thing.
Gotcha.
But I was also interested. I was interested in more, and so nights and weekends I patrolled. I actually ended up getting fully qualified. I took all the tests, and I became fully certified as an Air Force Security Forces member.
Okay.
So I got the beret that cops wear. I got the badge that I was very proud to have. And I was also then authorized for solo patrol. And by the time I retired, I had a little over 2,000 hours of patrol time and enjoyed it a great deal, nights and weekends. It's always interesting when you stop one of your students and say, well, here's a quiz and a ticket, type of thing. But
what was your jurisdiction in this? Was it just the academy?
Well, it's interesting. There's a concept we need to help the audience understand, which is called concurrent jurisdiction.
Okay. And
SF jurisdiction was the academy, essentially. But the academy, like most military bases, is not what people think it is. In that, most military bases will have their fencing or their border, whatever it might be, inside, sometimes by a considerable distance, the actual physical surveyed edge of the base.
Okay.
And with the Air Force Academy, located just north of Colorado Springs, that includes, we actually have Interstate Highway I-25 that comes through the base from mile 156 to 150. And that is actually fully on the Air Force Academy.
Okay.
And our actual property ran almost all the way, if anybody's familiar with the area, to the Cracker Barrel restaurant on the other side of the highway.
I'm sure the van life folks are familiar with the Cracker Barrel.
Oh, yeah. And yeah, it's true. Very true. And the reason, I was thinking when I drive by, the reason for that makes a lot of sense in that if someone is behaving in a way that you want to detain them, say you think they're trying to sneak on base to hunt a deer or whatever nefarious purpose, you don't want them to be able to just step back a step and be off the base and out of your jurisdiction. So as a result, I-25, those 6 miles, we were the first responders.
Okay.
And we had what's called concurrent jurisdiction. And we had concurrent jurisdiction on the highway with the Highway Patrol and with the Colorado Springs Police Department. So I responded to dozens and dozens of accidents, often on a Friday afternoon when people followed too closely, on I-25, some severe, some less so. Everything from rollovers with multiple ambulances to fender benders where people are upset. And I would get there first, and if they were military people, I would take care of it. If they were civilians and there needed to be a ticket written or some other aspect of vehicles, we would call the sheriff's office, or the sheriff's office also had concurrent jurisdiction on the highway.
I mean, that's so wait a minute. So you've got you guys, you've got the county, the sheriffs, you've got the city, Colorado Springs, and you've got the state.
Right.
And they all have jurisdiction. Is there some kind of supremacy clause?
well, like a state patrolman, of course, would have authority anywhere inside the boundaries of the state of Colorado. The sheriff within the bounds of El Paso County, which is almost as big as Connecticut.
Yeah.
and then the city, of course, has within the city. And then there were specialized things. If we had a domestic issue, a family issue, on base, even though it's on base, we would bring in the sheriff's office because usually it's not 2 military spouses. Usually it's 1 military spouse and 1 civilian spouse, things like that. So we played it. So, but as a result, in patrolling the academy, I did quite a lot of traffic stops. We did not do traffic stops on the interstate. We responded to accidents.
Okay.
And it was interesting because when I first became a cop, I thought the most satisfying thing would be giving people tickets when they do stupid things in front of you. Because we all have had that experience of, boy, I wish I was a cop, that guy right there, I tell you. And yeah, when you're a cop, I will not deny that is a nice feeling. to be able to flip on the lights and say, now explain to me why you thought that was a good place to make a left turn from the third right lane. But what I actually ended up finding the most satisfying were those accident responses on I-25, because people are having a terrible day.
Mm-hmm.
They've just had a wreck, especially in the summer. Oftentimes they're on vacation or they're in a rental, whatever it might be, and everything's going to hell. And then I show up with my flashing lights and my gun and my badge and my whistle, and I say, okay, let's, and I take charge.
Yeah.
And you can see the relaxing of
Right.
those people, because someone is here to help, someone who knows what's going to go on, what needs to happen. I'll give you an example. I will immodestly say I actually got a small medal for, was when we had a bad accident. Grandma was driving a minivan, and her 8-year-old grandson in the back was hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Not badly, as it turns out. His neck hurt. And so I got there and first, and I kind of climbed inside the wreckage, and I took the kid's head in my hands and held him looking straight forward at me, and then talked about the Denver Broncos with him. And I've got an earpiece in, so I'm hearing the ambulance people, and I have a mic in my sleeve, and I'm reporting, 8-year-old neck pain, numbness in extremities, whatever, things might be, as I'm talking to the kid about the Broncos, so that the EMTs that are on the way will have better information. And what I remember so clearly is the grandmother relaxing, because you can imagine the panic. I mean, I'm a grandfather, of, oh my God, I hurt my grandchild. Is about the worst thing you could ever think could happen. And you could just see her relaxing, because I was there inside the messed up car with my hands on her grandson, keeping him safe. And so those ended up being really satisfying experiences. But the reason I suggested you talk to me today, aside from my wit and good looks, is on last week's episode, you did talk about my voltage detector.
I did.
Which is good. The one thing I want to make clear about that I think you didn't quite make clear, is that you plug it into anything and it automatically detects.
Yeah, it figures out what you want.
Yeah, so you plug it into a 110 outlet in your house, it reads 110.
Right.
You plug it into a 12 volt, it reads, so it's a pretty cool thing, and I've already used it a couple times. But the other thing was, you gave some very useful and very appropriate, I had no issue with anything you said, tips on dealing with cops.
Okay,
and
but
I thought that a slightly fuller picture could be drawn from the cop's point of view. Now, I want to point out a couple of things. One, I was a military cop, but I did work essentially every day with civilian cops. So I feel pretty comfortable with the statements I'm going to make about how generalized police operations work in terms of traffic enforcement.
Yeah.
And because we basically, as military cops, we use what was called the Colorado Revised Statute, CRS. And I still remember, speeding ticket is CRS 42-1110-E.
Wow.
That's the code in which it says don't speed, right? and so we, in practice, used Colorado State Patrol standards for traffic enforcement, with a few exceptions here and there.
Yeah, that's actually because you were technically federalized. Well, you were federal, so there is no federal statute against speeding, except on the base there is.
Yeah, there is on base, yeah.
I mean, I ran into this in Utah where I had a scooter and I had my girlfriend, then wife, on the back, and she didn't have a helmet, which is legal in Utah. You don't have to have a helmet. But you
do on a base. But
we were driving on a public road that happened to be on a base that there's no way we could tell, and I got pulled over by, I guess, an MP, and he let me go with a warning.
Right.
But, it was very clear that the rules are different here.
And that actually... on a couple of, I have depending on the end how long we go, I have a story about a vendor at a concert on base who thought he had cleverly skirted Colorado law by cheating people. And I pointed out, you're on a federal reservation. I can just take all your stuff.
Yeah, that's a whole other thing.
So that was a different thing. So with the caveats, and the other caveat is I retired in 2006. I do not believe that in the intervening, 19 years now, there has been a profound change. Yeah, I was on the cruise, if you'll recall.
That's right, I remember.
When I retired. I don't believe there have been any fundamental changes, but caveat, I'm a military cop with some civilian knowledge, although I did have, as I say, 2,000 hours of patrol and hundreds of tickets. And, but my information could be dated in some cases.
But I think...
But I want to talk about the concepts of how you handle yourself.
Yeah, you have the perspective of a quote-unquote good cop, like I believe you were out there for the best interest of the general public and anybody you came encounter with. We're going to put bad cops aside. That's a whole separate topic. Right. So you are a good cop. Getting into your mind as to what things you're looking for and what your motivations are could be very useful.
Right. And I think the first thing I want to mention is that in almost every case, if you're getting pulled over for some traffic issue, be that anything from speed to your license plate's expired, that type of thing, there are things we can stop you for as a primary cause.
Yeah.
And then there are things that we can't pull over, at least in my time. You can't pull over specifically for that one small thing. Like specifically, they changed it, but when it first came out, I couldn't pull you over for not wearing a seatbelt.
Right, I remember that.
If I pulled you over for speed, I could also cite you for the seatbelt. Now you can cite them for a seatbelt. But there's other little things, like I'm not going to pull you over for a temporary tag that's expired. But if I'm stopping you for speed, I'm going to note that tag.
Right.
Now, as I say, there's exceptions with everything. I had a guy come on base one time, and I got a call from the gate. As the guy was driving away from the gate, they noticed his tag. This was August, and it said June on his temp tag.
Okay.
So he was actually a civilian. The Air Force Academy, unlike most military bases, has lots of programs that civilians come on base for. This guy was coming on to play baseball in a baseball league that was on base. And I pulled him over, and it was actually June of 2 years prior.
Oh, jeez.
And so, sometimes people forget. And in those cases, they often have the tag with them. And I say, well, I can write you a ticket or I can put the tag on if you give me the tag. This guy,
like I said, good cop.
at 2 years past his thing, he was clearly just trying to get out of having to pay. In Colorado, they charge tax on license plates and not new cars. So it could be hundreds of dollars. So I did pull him over. And I said, look, you're welcome to come here. Your truck is not. So I'm going to follow you off base. You can go home, get your other car, come back and play baseball, which is what he did. But roughly 75% of the time on a traffic stop, the cop will not have decided if he or she is going to issue a ticket or not. It's entirely up to you, 75% of the time, by your behavior and attitude to decide whether you're going to get a ticket or not. And the reason for that is the goal is compliance. Now, if you have some little tiny police, we know that there have been cases where speed traps have been set up to try to raise money for cities and things like that. Setting those aside, I think those are incredibly rare. I've never actually seen one. When I walk up to the window, I haven't decided. Now, the 25% of the time when I have decided, if you were going 70 in a 20 mile an hour zone, it doesn't matter how charming you are. You're getting a ticket. And so, again, I come up and I'm going to stop short of your door. First of all, there's going to be a delay before I come up to your car window. And people wonder, why am I sitting here? Well, come on, let's get the show on the road here. I got a place to go, people to see. Well, what I'm doing is I'm calling in your license plate to determine wants and warrants and specifically insured or not insured. In Colorado, not having proof of insurance is a $35 ticket. Not having insurance is a $1,000 ticket, and I take your car. Because I now know that you are uninsured, and if you drive 10 feet forward and hit a little old lady in a wheelchair, we're responsible because I should have intervened to stop you from that.
Oh, okay.
But the reason I'm going to stop short of your door is I'm going to make you turn backwards over your left shoulder to look at me. Because I don't want you to be able to open that door suddenly and slam into me to try to knock me down.
That makes sense.
So you're sitting in your car, you're wondering, oh gosh. There's things to do and things not to do. The thing to do, roll down your windows. Because as I walk up to your car, especially cars with tinted windows, you know you're a fine, upstanding human being with no issues. I don't know that. And so my officer safety is a term you hear a lot.
Yes.
You roll down your windows. I can, first of all, as I approach your vehicle, if you've got a tailgate or a trunk, you're going to see me grab it and make sure it's shut. Because sometimes people have hidden in trunks to pop out.
Okay.
So I make sure your back gate or trunk is shut, right? I come up to and I say, "Hi, I'm Lieutenant Colonel Bidlack from the 10th Security Forces. Do you know why I stopped you?" Now, a lot of people find that an irritating question because, yeah, they know they were speeding. That's 80% of the time. That's what it is. But one of the interesting discoveries I've made over the years, and I think most police have the same experience, is that criminals are kind of stupid. And it never happened with me, but other guys were, "Do you know why I stopped you?" "Because I have a warrant," or "Because you saw me throw the baggie out," or, yeah. And people will volunteer things. One thing you do not want to do, you want to put your hands on the steering wheel, 10 and 2, and leave them there. I cannot tell you how many times I was walking up to a car and I saw the driver duck down to reach over to the glove box on the right side.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Now, you're getting your proof of insurance and your registration. I don't know that.
Right.
I don't know you at all. All I know is the person who I stopped as a law enforcement member has ducked out of sight and is grabbing something. Mm-hmm. And that is something you do not want to do, which is to introduce concern that you might be going for a gun.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And so, yeah, don't go for the glove box. And when I ask you, "Do you know why I stopped you?" say no.
Right.
Now, there's a caveat there, because if you were speeding like heck,
right,
I think it's fine to say, "I was going a little fast." Don't say I was going 16 miles over.
Right.
Say I was going a little fast. And then we can talk, and based on how you talk to me decides whether you're getting a ticket or not in that situation. As I say, 75% of the time the person drives away with a warning, because and I think that's effective, frankly. Mm-hmm. In fact, when we do have a ticket somebody has to pay, the envelope is an address in Missouri. I think it was Missouri, if I remember right, the federal ticket agency somewhere in the middle of the country.
Wow.
Where, it goes in the U.S. Treasury somehow. So it's not like the Air Force Academy the cops are going to have an extra big party because I write you a big ticket. No. And so I walk up and said, "You know, I stopped," and don't argue.
Right.
If I say, now it's fine to say, "How fast was I going?" And if I'm thinking a warning, I'm going to say, "It's just fast enough to get my attention. I'd like you to slow it down some." Take the hint.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's like,
"Hey,
yes, I'm sorry,
I'm really
officer.
sorry about that. I won't do that again."
Yep.
I've had to say, "I want to know exactly how fast I was going." "Okay, you were going 62 and a 45. Here's your coupon."
Yeah.
And so you end up, take the hint. And when we run speed, it's usually radar or LiDAR. LiDAR is laser. I like LiDAR better. Mm-hmm. And I can't see who you are from a half a mile away. I am bouncing a laser signal off of your front license plate. Mm-hmm. And from that distance, I cannot see who you are. So while there are absolutely issues with cops around the country and around the world for bigoted enforcement, generally speaking, for speeding and traffic and such, that's not the case, because we don't see you a half a mile. I can't see in your car a half a mile away, but your car's reflection says you're going 62 and a 45. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to pull in behind you and light you up. And so those are some of the keys. Let me give you an example of how not to do it. And okay. You may know this story. Mm-hmm. There was one night I was working patrol, and I was near the entrance to the Air Force Academy, where there's a Thunderbird T-38 airplane. It's called Thunderbird Overlook, where during the day you can watch the flight operations of the Air Force Academy. Mm-hmm. And I'm sitting there, and it's dark. I think it's wintertime, and a white Cadillac, which we would call the traditional vehicle of the retired colonel's wife,
okay.
comes driving along, and it's 45 there, and she's going about 60. So I pull in behind her, and I turn the lights on. She doesn't do anything. I hit the siren, whoop, 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 a couple of times. Mm-hmm. She changes to the left lane where I think, well, you're going to turn left? So I get behind her and I go, whoop, 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 and I pull her over. Now, what am I doing? I'm checking her license for insurance. But she feels a stake. She gets out of the car, and I see at this point it's a little old lady. Turns out she was 87. And for a while, I may still hold the record for the oldest person ticketed, because generally, if you're old, you get a break. As do nurses, EMTs, firemen, and other cops.
Okay. Yeah, other cops. I knew that one.
Yeah. Unless, again, it depends on how egregious.
Yeah.
And I tell you, just as an aside, when you're a young enlisted cop and you get pulled over by a lieutenant colonel patrolman cop, you have real concerns about your future for a little while. All right, so she gets out of the car, and I said, ma'am, just wait in your car. I'll be right with you. So I get the call back. She is insured. And I start walking up to the car, and she drives away. Now, you don't
smart.
do that.
No.
So I hop back in the car. I get behind her, whoop, 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 pull her over. I get out of the car. I start to walk up. She pulls away a second time. So my radio call, they told me later, was, Academy Police 6, I'm in pursuit kind of a little old lady in a white Cadillac. I pull her a third time, and I run up to them and I say, stop, 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 don't move. Not my usual greeting. Mm-hmm. I say, ma'am, I stopped you because you're going too fast. May I see your license, registration, and proof of insurance? And she, like a lot of people, does not have the current little insurance slip, but she's got 25 old ones from the last 25 years, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I know she's insured and all that. And so I go back and I come back and I say, well, ma'am, I'm going to write you. I'm not going to write you a ticket for the insurance because I believe you. Mm-hmm. She says, it's home on my late husband always took care of that. And so I don't know. And I think it's on the desk. I say, ma'am, I believe you. It's all right. I am going to write you a ticket for speeding. And she said, do you have to? Because I already got a speeding ticket today. This is under the category of things you don't tell the cop.
Yeah.
Right? I say, yes, ma'am, I am. And she said, oh, it's so hard, without my husband. I said, yes, ma'am, I understand. And as I have the ticket to give her, I say, ma'am, now I want to, I'm a widower myself. I lost my wife to cancer. I understand how hard it is. And she said, well, you're a man, so it really isn't hard for you.
Oh.
Yeah. I said, well, ma'am, here's your ticket. Slow it down. And off she went into the night in her white Cadillac.
So what you have just described, all right, I have to bring this up.
Sure.
There is making things easy for the cop, right?
Yes.
So that's generally what you want to do. You want the cop to go away. You want to make things as easy as possible. You want to give him...
I'm going to quibble with the word easy and try to find a better word, because it's not necessarily easy, but safe and efficient.
Okay. All right. That's fair.
And that's not quite right either.
Right.
But, your job, non-confrontational.
Non-confrontational, make the cop feel safe. Okay. Yeah. That's a strategy. That's actually the strategy I tried to convey in the podcast.
And that's what I got from your podcast.
Yeah. I mean, again, and I'm in this problem that a lot of people have, is that you watch a couple of these cop interaction videos and then the algorithm floods you. Right. And they're always the worst examples of some rookie cop who doesn't know what he's doing. He's got a big ego, etc. They're not necessarily accurate as to what your encounter will be like.
Right.
But it always ends up a confrontation over the cop wants something and the driver doesn't want to give it to them.
Right.
Now, sometimes it's something, and you mentioned this, is rolling down the windows. Now, I understand completely why. You explained it thoroughly. And in a van, this is a little bit of a different problem, but legally, they don't have to do that. No,
not at all. I'm just saying, if your goal is to get out of there having learned an important lesson about speeding, but not having a ticket. People often ask me, how do you get out of a ticket? I said, there's one perfect way. Yeah. Don't speed.
That's the best way. Don't drive at all, in fact.
Well, no, you can drive, just drive legally. And, I'm 67, so I've been driving for 50 plus years now. I've gotten 2 speeding tickets.
Shame on you.
I know.
You're a criminal.
And one was on my way to my first active duty assignment in the middle of Utah. I probably passed you.
Probably, yeah.
And I was going. It was when they just got back to 55, and I was speeding.
Oh, yeah.
And I got. And then the other was down actually in New Mexico. We were my second wife and I were driving down to New Mexico, and I thought it was 65, but it was 55. So I was going 65.
Okay. Well.
And what's interesting is the cop said, "Now here's with your military discount, it comes to if you're prior service military, active military, that you get a discount usually from the cop." But the key thing with the window, again, you can be like a sovereign citizen and try to do all that bullshit about Fourth Amendment and all that. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, they're wrong.
The sovereign citizens are crazy people. The whole marine law, the maritime law, whatever.
Yeah, because if the flag doesn't have the gold fringe, all that.
Right.
Crazy stuff. Your goal is not to make the cop go, "You're not going to believe the guy I pulled over today." Right?
Yeah.
You don't want to be that 87-year-old widow who I still tell the story about because she walked away with a significant ticket for speed. You want to be, and I'll give you another example. I stopped a guy for speeding on the main road Friday afternoon. A lot of people who I pulled him over, got up the window. It was an African-American male. Mm-hmm. He had his hands on the wheel. You could tell he'd had the talk, Mm-hmm. He was. And I said, "Sir, do you know why I pulled you over? A little fast?" "Yes." Said, "If you promise to slow down for me, I don't see any reason I need to write you a ticket. Will you promise to slow down some?"
Yes.
He went, "Yes." He was startled, as a guy who the old term among racist cops is DWB, driving while black.
Oh, of course.
He expected this white lieutenant colonel to write him up a nasty ticket. I just asked him to slow it down and have a good day.
Yeah. And
I think I did more good with him than any ticket would have done.
Oh,
in terms of his
yeah. I mean,
thoughts of the world.
Ticket just would have been, of course,
And again, it just comes down to, on traffic stops, don't seek behavior that is going to make the situation worse in the eyes of the cop.
Mm-hmm.
And ducking down out of sight to get your license and registration. I've had people get out of the car and start walking back toward me. And I said, "Get back in your car, please. Get back in your car."
Right.
Yeah, I don't know why you're walking toward me.
Exactly.
You could be the nicest guy. I pulled one guy over, and he said he was going really fast, and I pulled him over, and he said, "I'm the maintenance guy at the cadet gym. There's a sewer line that just broke. And I said, "You go." All necessary speed. I don't think he made that up. If he did, it was a clever way to get out of a ticket. But no, common sense here.
So without getting into there's Terry stops and there's traffic stops and there's different rules, and these rules vary by state to state. None of us are lawyers here.
Probable cause at some point.
Yeah, right, or suspicion of a crime, etc. I mean, you've got to have, but it does seem like almost every...
May I interrupt one more thing?
Oh, sure.
I have a concealed carry permit, although I don't carry that often. A lot of people have a concealed carry permit. Mm-hmm. If you're in Alaska, everybody by definition has a concealed carry permit. Mm-hmm. If you get stopped and you have a concealed carry permit and you're carrying a weapon,
yes,
it's wise to say to the cop, and as you should know, I have a concealed carry permit while your hands are on the steering wheel, and that weapon is in my lower back in a holster.
Yes, that makes a lot of sense. Although, with gun laws being as complicated as they are, and I'm in the van life context here.
Right. Yep.
If you have a handgun in the back of your van where you can't reach it, I wonder if you shouldn't mention that unless you're asked.
I would not mention that. A weapon in deep storage without ammo, mm-hmm. I would not mention. But if I am carrying a loaded weapon,
absolutely,
just in case he wants to talk to me outside the car for some reason, and the gun falls out as I get out, you can think of scenarios where that could go poorly.
Well, and again, you don't want to aggravate the cop, and the guy pulls you out and feels a gun. The cop is suddenly going to have a different demeanor. Yeah,
and so your goal, and in terms of probable cause, let's say, for example, now Colorado's a wonderful state in terms of marijuana laws, mm-hmm. but the Air Force Academy and all the other military bases are islands of draconian belief interspersed among liberal thinking on pot. Mm-hmm. In other words, it's not legal on Air Force.
Right, because federally it's not legal, right.
It's a federal base. It's a federal controlled substance. So if I pull you over and I detect, and also remind me to talk about alcohol, mm-hmm. I detect the smell of what I think is marijuana, And you may ask how I know that.
How would you know that?
It's because I underwent nose certification.
So that's a real thing. Okay.
Because if let's say I arrest you for that and you've got a smart lawyer, Colonel Bidlack, how did you know what marijuana smelled like? If I say, because I smelled it in a bar once, smells like burning rope, he said, how do you know it wasn't burning rope?
Right.
But I say, because at a demonstration where a cop burned identified marijuana in front of me and had me sniff it, I was able to identify the smell from that certified burning of marijuana.
Okay. Wow.
I am nose certified. I am horizontal gaze nystagmus certified for drunk drivers and such things. And so, yeah, you don't want to make them wonder. But if I smell that, frankly, when I was a cop, the most likely thing I would say is get off base and vacuum out your car.
Right.
I had one guy once. There is a turn off where you can turn off of I-25 and watch the Air Force Academy, and you really shouldn't be there at 2 a.m. So if there's somebody there at 2 a.m, we check them out. And one guy had a bag. He just had a little bit of marijuana left. I just took it and emptied the baggie inside out and let it go to the wind and said, okay, don't do that anymore. There's a difference between a guy with a couple of stems left and somebody who's got 50 little baggies, right?
Well, yeah, that's right.
So but the probable cause, if I want to search it, is I'm going to call and have them bring the drug dog. And the drug dog is going to, without invading your personal space, is going to walk around your car. And if he sits down, that's called alerting.
Right.
That means I now have probable cause that something illegal is in your vehicle.
Then you can do a search without consent.
I don't want to do that. Cops don't care about marijuana. They care about, other drugs much more than marijuana, unless you rub it in their face and make it impossible for them to ignore it.
Right. Right.
So,
then they're liable. I mean, if something happens a mile down the road.
Yeah, I thought he was high, but
Yeah.
Decided to cut him some slack.
All right. So let's talk about alcohol, because in van life, we have a very interesting issue where I might have...
You do very much. Where is your open container in your 30-foot vehicle?
Right, exactly. I mean, I bought a bottle of Jack Daniels or some other liquor, and I'm not going to drink the whole fifth at once. So I have an open bottle of Jack Daniels in my van. And my understanding is that is absolutely illegal in some jurisdictions.
Yes. And I don't know what those are. But for concealed carry and for marijuana and for alcohol, there are websites with maps that show you where you can go. Like, for example, when I drive to Michigan, my old home state, and back, any state I go through, I can carry concealed because there's what they call reciprocity with their concealed carry laws.
But not New York
City. I'm going through Massachusetts or D.C. or Virginia, of all places, does not respect other states. Nevada, I remember, you may remember once I was going to have to protect Randy in a situation. I looked into it and I couldn't carry there.
Yeah, that I've actually done a podcast about that. Is that if you are going to carry a gun with you in your van life travels, you have a lot of work to do figuring out what's legal and what isn't.
And you should very much have it locked in a container.
Yep, separate from ammo.
Separate from ammo, with a trigger lock on the weapon in a locked container, 2 barriers to open.
Yep. And not with you. And then, of course, they're like, well, then if I need it, I can't get to it. And that's that whole argument that we can't have because it would take forever.
Right.
But yes. All right. So now, specific to van life especially, I mentioned that I will cooperate with the police. If they ask me for my ID, I'm going to give it to them, whether I think legally they have the right to require it or not.
Right.
I don't care. That's my personal thing. Right. I believe that most conflict is going to happen right there. If you refuse to give them the ID, then suddenly it's a competition.
Well, and what you've said is, to the cop, I have something to hide in my car. And you may be thinking you're making an important legal point.
Yes.
Or give me the damn... I mean, first of all, on an Air Force Academy or any military base, you must give me ID when I ask for it.
Well, of course, right, yeah. There are places where that's true.
If you actually look at the base of the hill that leads up to the south gate of the Air Force Academy, what people think is well off the academy is actually the property line, is a tiny little sign that says entry to this federal facility is to give permission for searching of you and any vehicle.
Yeah, that's it. Once you're there.
And let me tell you, on behalf of you van lifers, now I have an RV I pull, so we're cousins.
Sure.
I hated pulling over van lifers.
It would take forever.
Because they have so much crap in
Of course.
And, and it was, yeah. I mean, actually, ironically, if you want to get out of a ticket, have more stuff in the back. I'm kidding.
No, but yeah, I mean, but and so to my thinking.
And can I explain why for
sure.
a second?
Yep.
When you think of van lifers, now I've listened to every podcast you've done. We've been friends for 25 years.
Mm-hmm.
I listened to every podcast you've done. And as I say, I camp in an RV, a travel trailer, and I carry a gun in there. So I get it. But to a lot of cops and firemen and EMTs, a van life person looks a whole lot like a homeless person.
Well, absolutely.
And reasons for being homeless range from the tragic ones we agree on to deep mental illness issues that create a danger to him and those or her and those around them.
Yes.
So if you're a van life person and you're driving a schoolie, notice how I use that term because I knew it from your past.
Yes.
13 window, is it?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And you're driving something like that, don't be surprised if your traffic stop takes a little longer. And make sure nobody in the back's doing something stupid.
Yeah. Yeah,
like,
I mean,
like flushing sounds.
I mean, and so I guess then the question is, if a cop says, "Do you mind if I search your vehicle?" My reaction is always going to be no to that question. What do you advise?
You don't mind. You're authorizing a search. Is that what you're saying?
Right, and I would not. I would say I do not authorize any searches. I do not consent to any searches.
I will always allow a search.
So for you personally, in your vehicle, you will always allow a search. Interesting.
Because having allowed it means it's probably not going to take place.
Oh, well, okay. Now,
Now you say no, and I say to myself, this guy's in this van, he's got all this stuff. I think I'm going to bring the puppy over here.
Right. Well, I think
if nothing else, you've added 45 minutes to your traffic.
That's the thing. And I have decided that.
Is it worth it?
It was different in the ambulance, which was a weird vehicle. But with
doing 15 miles an hour down the highway.
Well, I could have. The ambulance put me at risk because it had all those lights on it and stuff.
Right.
I was vulnerable in many ways in the ambulance. So I think. All right, so that's interesting. So I was under the impression that if you say no, they can call the dog and then do a search, but that was more work, and cops don't like work because they're people.
It depends. If I'm saying this hypothetically, sheriff's deputy in some rural county, and you've got your Vermont plates on it or something, and you're in Mississippi. Oh, really? No? Boy, I think I smell pot.
Right.
And now I'm going to search your vehicle. And it's the old, if you got nothing to hide. I understand the principle of the thing. I understand that it is morally correct that you not be searched for no good reason. But I also say, and one of the basic rules of the military, you pick your battles.
Right.
You decide which hill is worth dying on. And if it is your fundamental belief that the Fourth Amendment prohibits anybody from checking out my van, and I'm willing to undergo a search against my will, and then I'll file a lawsuit, and I'll come back to this county, and I'll be seen by their county judge, and I will spend $2,000 on lawyers, go for it. But if you've got nothing to hide, which I think 99.99% of people have nothing to hide, and assuming you've done your prior correct work on, if I have a gun, is it locked up? If I have alcohol, is it sealed? I mean, maybe your alcohol, the fire boxes you could put documents in, that would hold several bottles of whiskey. You could lock that up. You could have a locked alcohol container, right?
Yeah, you could do that.
Yeah, as a thought. You have to decide on all of these issues I've talked about, whether when I say, do you know why I stopped you? Whether you're going to whatever degree, if you're going to, every one of those is a decision point based on how far you want this to go to prove the point you're trying to make.
Right.
My point is, my radar gun said you were going 62 and a 45, and I don't want you to do that.
Right.
So I'm going to talk with you. And if the conversation goes well, you're going home with a warning. And nothing else. And if the conversation goes badly, it's an hour and a half while we take every gosh darn thing. I don't know if I can cuss on podcasts. Every gosh darn thing out of your van and lay it on the ground and have the puppy check it and then tell you, okay, you can reload it.
Yeah. And then, yeah.
And I will give you one example where I abuse my power.
Mm-hmm.
Football game, Air Force Academy football game, late in the season, night game. There are one of the divisions within the Air Force Academy is AH, the athletic people. And they're kind of a strange, by themselves, intercollegiate thing. It's a mix of civilian and military. And I got a call by one of the one-stripers, the very low enlisted guys, who was guarding an entrance to the stadium.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy from AH, young civilian male, it's December, it's 12 degrees, T-shirt and shorts, because he's got to zip up to the press box to do his important AH work. And the young cop says, you need to go around this way. It's right there. I want to go this way. Let me go through. No, you can't. You got to go. I want to go this way. Get out of my way. Colonel Bidlack, you available? I am. So what I did to make my point was I got briefed on what's going on. I pulled the guy out of the car. I stood him by his front bumper. Then I went back to my young enlisted cop and said, did you get a chance to see the end of the game? How'd it go? Did you have a good time? We chatted for 10 minutes. Well, this guy froze his ass off.
Mm-hmm.
And I came back and said, now you have two choices here. You can either go back the way this young man told you to go, or at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, you can be in the soup's office and explain to the 3-star why rules don't apply to you.
Mm-hmm.
What's your choice?
And
I made the correct choice. Now, I will admit that was an abuse of my authority, but I was taking care of my troops, which is also a very important thing in the military.
And your situation is a little bit different than, the side of the road in some rural county in Mississippi. Yeah, well, but there is a clear power dynamic between somebody driving and a cop.
Yes.
Not only do they have a firearm always, they have a radio, they have backup, they have the force of law behind them.
Right.
And they have a lot more experience in this situation than you do.
That's exactly right. It's my job to do it, and it's the 10th time I've done it that day.
Right.
It's your first ticket in 3 years.
But at some point, they know that they can step on your rights and get away with it. And while you and I, as old white guys, have a different experience of cops than many others do, I'm concerned that... Again, this all comes down to videos. They create an unreal sense of what the world is like, and that bothers me. So I'm trying to be as level as I can. But I remember there was a video of a guy stopped, and he was completely cooperative. Every single thing the cops wanted, he gave them. And he happened to mention that he had $90,000 in the back of his car because he did not believe in banks. So he carried all his money with him. That is probably foolish. But we don't. That's not part of the story. Well, the cops said, well, the only reason you'd be carrying that around is if you're going to buy drugs. So they seized the money. They seized his life savings. Now, this guy, veteran, upstanding citizen, had never done anything wrong, cooperated with the cops, but it cost him $90,000.
I hope he got it back.
He did after many lawsuits and court cases, and it took him a year.
And that's an example of abuse of power.
Yeah.
And I mean, if I found $9,000 in the bag, I wouldn't think drugs. I'd be thinking, he robbed the bank or something.
Could be.
And before I let him go, I would want to talk to the desk sergeant, say, anybody report a robbery around here in the last hour?
Well, right. That makes sense. But there's that law that the jurisdictions can seize any cash and then they get to keep it.
Yeah, and that is a very tricky, and which actually brings me to another point. Whether you should, with your iPhone or Android, videotape your own traffic stop.
I would say always yes, but you're going to agree with the cop.
I would say take care.
Okay.
And what might make sense is to take that, start it recording, and set it up on your dashboard so it's just recording back at you.
Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't stick it in the cop's face. That's ridiculous.
But what I have seen people, I'm recording this, these sovereign citizen people. Okay, I'm recording this. You can't, and all that. And you're not helping your case. Again, your goal is to minimize friction, reduce opportunity to get a ticket, and be on your way. Mm-hmm. And because there are cops who some are bad, I think far more are good than bad. Vastly far more.
They don't make videos of them, though.
They don't. Those don't go viral when the guy says, "Oh, when I told the guy have a nice day, you can go."
Right,
That did not make the news that night. But it's critically important to understand, again, what battle you're going to decide to fall on your sword on, and which you're going to let go. And I would, if the cop says stop recording me, I think that's enough. You say, okay, I'm stopping the recording. Stop the recording, and then should things go poorly, and you go to court, that's a heck of an interesting point for you to be able to make. The cop ordered me to stop filming my own arrest.
That's a good point. Mm-hmm.
That could work in your benefit.
Let's say things escalate a bit and you're being detained and you think you're going to get arrested. Whether you've done anything or not doesn't matter. Right. At what point should you just invoke your fifth and ask for a lawyer? Instantly. So as soon as you're handcuffed or whatever.
Well, the first point is one of the things we practiced is called non-compliant vehicle extractions.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Don't fight the cops ever.
And I still remember the 3 a.m. shift at the closed Air Force Academy Visitor Center, where we all got together as cops. And in the military, if you're the highest ranking person around,
you're the one.
You do the thing that sucks.
Yeah.
I am the guy in the room who got tasered.
Oh.
When the room full of cops, I look around, shit, okay, tase me, I got tased. Mm-hmm. And let me tell you, it is not fun. I was the highest ranking guy there. So I had non-vehicle compliance, which involves, if you can imagine, and I'll show you, the reaching across of the face and the grabbing of the opposite side under the jawbone. And I did this about a half a dozen times for each of the cops to get some training on it. And then they get you outside, right? And you're going cuffs. Yeah. A question to ask is, am I under arrest? If it is escalated like this, am I under arrest? And if you are, say, okay, I'm going to invoke my rights and I don't want to talk till I've talked to a lawyer. And they have to say, okay. Now, that almost certainly guarantees you're going to jail.
Sure. But at that point,
it takes the opportunity of a warning off the table.
Yeah.
If he says, no, you're just being detained, I wouldn't necessarily do that yet.
Okay.
Unless the question seems like a leading question. So did you see anybody at the bank besides you? What bank?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I made that up.
And sometimes being detained means being handcuffed and put in the back of a car.
Yes,
arrest
and that is for
different.
Officer safety.
Yeah.
Because if I stop you and you're 6'6", 310 offensive lineman on the, I'm not safe with you. So I may put you in cuffs so that I feel safe, and then I'll take you out of them and I'll apologize. Well, thank you very much for being so cooperative. Mm-hmm. That's unusual. But remember, handcuffs hurt. They're supposed to hurt.
Yeah, they're not comfortable.
No. And so, and I'll give you one more example of, we had a situation where I was actually at the cop headquarters, and they brought in a cadet they had arrested for possible DWI and something else. And he saw me and he said to the arresting airman, can I talk to the colonel? I was the only officer there. Now, cadets are in school to become officers. They go to 4 years of academy, they become second lieutenants and on. As opposed to enlisted troops, which are what you think of as privates, corporals. In the Air Force, we have airmen and sergeants and things like that. So he wanted to talk to me officer to officer. And he said, should I get a lawyer for this? Now, there's the cop half of my brain not wanting him to lawyer up.
Right.
Because my life is a lot simpler if I say, write out a statement and we'll deal with it in the morning with your AOC or Air Officer Commanding. But I said, you really need a lawyer right now. Yeah. And you shouldn't say anything else.
And that was, that your situation is a little different because you are two different people to this guy at that point.
Well, it was the power differential, which we've talked about before, is massive between a lieutenant colonel and a cadet. Yeah. Plus, he's absolutely scared out of his mind to be
One thing that is painfully obvious is if they say get out of the car gently, slowly, and not, because they're taking you out of the car. Your staying in the car is not an option. They will find a way.
Yeah. And it's that, what principle do you want to fall on your sword over? You can't make me get out of my car. That may ultimately be what the judge says 2 years from now when the case is finally started. In the meantime, $10,000 in lawyers' fees.
Right.
And all the hassle of sworn statements and everything else.
Yeah. Your seatbelt's cut. You've been dragged out of,
I will tell you what I've gotten people out of the car for. Can you step out for me? I want to show you that your back taillights burned out.
Okay, that's nice.
I pulled a guy over on the academy because he had a burned out taillight. And he was pulled over, and I just actually pulled up next to him and rolled the window down. I said, "You've got a burned out taillight, $187 ticket downtown."
Wow.
He said, "Oh, geez." Okay.
Yeah,
I guess
I
I'm
would say
going
that
to
too.
Autolite or the bulb store or whatever, to get a bulb. You never know why you're being pulled over. You honestly, I mean, if you've been speeding, if you've been violating, but you can sometimes get pulled over. You have no. I remember my son and I were going up skiing years before I was a cop in my little Honda Prelude, and I got pulled over. I said, "Son, I have no idea." The guy said, "You know what? I saw the skis on the roof. It looked like your tires were bald. I wanted to make sure because there's a blizzard coming, but I see your tires aren't bald, so you have a nice day."
Okay.
Weirdest traffic stop I've ever been involved in.
Yeah, and I wonder if sometimes they really just want to see if you're drunk or not, and once they find out you're not, that's it. They don't care about it.
Yeah, I hear about it's called DK, possible DK. And that's where, and that brings me to field sobriety tests. Shall we talk about those?
I definitely want to talk about that because I don't think I could pass a field sobriety test when I'm sober. So I am
going to tell you how you're going to pass that test.
Okay, tell me.
So obviously I have long since expired, but the state patrol came and trained us all. One enlisted cop got rip-roaring drunk.
Okay.
And
fun job,
then we all did the horizontal gaze nystagmus, which you can see I'm waving my finger back and forth. And the idea is without moving your head, track your eyes. And if you are under the influence of alcohol significantly, if you're under no influence, your eye will smoothly track the finger without moving your head. If you can't do it without moving your head, that's a sign. There are, for example, when you're driving, when I was, again, a number of years ago, there were 22 what we called tells. We needed 6 of them to pull you over. But things like, it's winter and his window's open.
Okay.
Or he went over the left lane, now he's gone over the right lane. Or his rear view mirror is screwed up. Things that, I need 6 of those to pull you over for suspicion of DK. Okay. And if we get to that point, and I had to do the actual DK, the testing several times, because I was the only guy who happened to be on patrol that was certified. So I think if you've had alcohol, your eye will stop and start. If you do then the vertical where I move my finger up and down in front of your face, and your eyes flutter, that's an indication of an opiate. Really, really good state patrol officers can tell by how much your eye is flickering what you're going to blow on the breathalyzer. But I'll give you one situation where we had a cadet. The academy has cadets from a number of different international academies that spend a year at the academy, sometimes all 4 years. This was a kid from the Polish Air Force Academy, and he'd been stopped at the gate. They thought they smelled alcohol, and so they had me administer. He was 0.0. He was fine, but he was scared out of his mind, and you can imagine.
Yeah.
So the traditional tests that they're going to do, the horizontal gaze nystagmus, there's really no way to cheat on that. If you're sober, your eyes are going to smoothly track.
Okay.
If you're drunk, they're going to jiggle. But the others are, take 8 steps, heel to toe, heel to toe, heel to toe, stand on 1 foot for 30 seconds. What the cop should ask, and if he doesn't ask, you must first say, "Officer, I have a bad knee. I have bad knee. I have a hip."
I would definitely say that.
I cannot do that walk, and I cannot do that stand. I consent to a breathalyzer.
Yeah, I would do that in a heartbeat. Yeah.
Which means you go back.
Yeah, I want
Yeah.
objective data, not subjective data.
Right. But if you tell the guy after you fail it, I've got a bad knee. And in fact, in a cop test for us, when we would get tested, a critical error, which means an automatic failure no matter how well you've done everything else, is to fail to ask a suspected DK, do you have any physical infirmities that might impact this test? They're supposed to ask. But if they're incompetent or maybe a little iffy, and they just want to get you because they're tired of your grief, they may not tell you.
And that's...
So you need to say, I've got bad knees and bad hips, my neck hurts, and I've got impetigo.
Yeah, I will have every ailment known to man. I can back it up with documents, thankfully. Right. See, when you talk about hills to die on, that's a big hill. You do not want to get a DWI or a DUI on your record.
Boy, does that mess you up. Yeah.
I mean, because, you can lose your license. I mean, but then there's these states where if you refuse
your insurance rate's triple.
Yeah, so to me, and tell me if I'm wrong here, I don't mind the finger waving thing so much, but I'm not going to do anything physical. I'm going to simply say that I've had surgery on my ankle and I've had all kinds of orthopedic problems. I can't do these. I will ask for a blood test.
That's fine. That just means you have to go to the hospital.
And that's fine. And I know at that point, this is going to take all night. And I could spend the night.
But it's worth it.
It's worth it. That's right. This is worth it.
Thousands and thousands of dollars in legal fees and a nightmare on your permanent record.
Yep. Yeah.
And the chances are, if you say that to me, and I've got, I wave my finger, and even if that's hard to refuse. Yeah. I mean, I have a glass eye. Okay. So I'll watch for one eye moving. Yeah. I have two glass eyes. Well, you probably shouldn't drive.
What?
What now? Like I can.
So that's actually really important.
Right. Yeah. So if you have anything, like I have, part of my disability from the VA upon retirement are my knees.
Yeah.
They're not bad, but I certainly might, in an 8-step heel to toe, turn on your heel, come back, might very well fall off that crack.
Oh, sure.
Because of my knee spasming.
And because you've been driving for 4 hours, which is a common occurrence for me and you.
Yeah. Right.
Okay.
And if you say that to me, my thinking is going to be, well, if you did on the Air Force Academy, I'd say, okay, follow me to the cop station. We have a breathalyzer, blow into it. You'll be good.
We have one last topic that we have to discuss.
Yes.
And this is not fair to you because this isn't something you encountered normally, but your advice might be useful here just because you understand how these things work somewhat. And that is the knock.
Yes.
You get the knock in the middle of the night. Now, there's a lot of schools of thought on this. One argument is ignore it. They can't do anything. Just don't answer. Another is answer and cooperate, and then and it, depending on what's going on, this would be what I would do. I would say, officer, I'm sleepy. I'm just resting. I will have this van out of here by 6 a.m.
I would say I was worried I was going to wreck and hit somebody else. So I decided to take a 20-minute nap for safety's sake. Safety sake.
I would say safe. And that's why I like rest areas, because I always thought if I got the knock in the rest area, I would say, officer, I really need to rest to be safe to drive. I will give them a time as to when I will be gone by. That way, there's some accountability. But so imagine it's different on an Air Force base, but let's say.
It's like that pull-off.
Yeah, okay. So there's a pull-off.
It's actually exactly the same situation.
There's a van parked there, and there's no driver in the driver's seat. It's dark. You go and you walk around and you knock on the glass. There's no answer. What do you do?
Well, if I'm there, I keep knocking, and I've got flashlights looking in and everything else. Because in addition to the traffic mission, we have a national security mission.
Right.
And I will tell you that like at that pull-off, let's say you're going, oh God, it's 3 a.m. I need 20 minutes. There's a pull-off. Fine. Pull off in the main parking area. Don't pull off onto the grass by the shrubs 30 feet to the left, where I found a woman who said she was, we ended up with multiple police cars and the State Patrol. And she said, I was just so tired. And I said, there was a consent to search. So I'm helping to search. There's a tin, like a cookie tin. And I open it up and white powder goes out all over me.
Oh, no.
And I'm thinking, I have to burn this uniform.
Yeah.
I've got cocaine in every... So I put the lid back on. I have the guy who's got Boo Boo the Wonder Dog. You've seen pictures of him.
I remember Boo Boo, yeah.
Boo Boo, come on, Boo Boo. Come here, Boo Boo. Boo Boo, check me. And Boo Boo did not alert.
Oh.
And it turns out she was a member of the second oldest profession after agriculture.
Oh.
And this was a work product. But she had literally pulled over to sleep, which would have been okay if she just stopped in the main area and sat in the front seat. I'd have knocked, you okay, ma'am? Then it becomes a welfare check. We're not going to let you have a heart attack and die on the Air Force Academy. I ended up having to do CPR on a guy at our south gate, north gate. He'd had a heart attack, 78-year-old guy, his wife in the driver's seat, 3 adult daughters in the back. Approaching at 75 miles an hour, approaching the Air Force Academy, has a massive heart attack. His wife grabs the wheel, pulls it to turn off onto the Air Force Academy, which is a slow right turn, thank goodness, knocks it out of gear and stops, calls for help, and I get there. And he did not make it.
I'm sorry.
But I'm doing CPR on him, and his daughter's doing the breathing, and I'm doing the chest compressions. if you're slumped over in your seat,
Oh, yeah.
I'm knocking on your window till you respond.
Oh, you're breaking the window. Yeah.
I'm breaking your window.
Yeah. No, that makes total sense. Yeah. These days now, where you park is incredibly important. It's not like it was even 5 years ago with Tennessee's new laws.
And you're a better expert on that than I am because of all the state rules.
I'm not an expert. I'm terrified, honestly. When I did the Aurora project, I drove all over the country and parked in places that seemed reasonable. And I don't think that's a good enough standard now. And you can't know all these municipal laws anymore. No. And iOverlander is not reliable. You're taking a chance. And that's why I made the episode about it's not safe out there, because ultimately that's how I feel. It isn't. You're taking a risk unless you're in a campground that you have paid for.
Is BLM ground virtually safe?
BLM land. So yeah, BLM land. You've got 2 weeks, right? It's not as safe as it used to be because there are some restrictions now. But generally, it's 2 weeks in any area. And what I've noticed in BLM land is if you get the knock, it's like, be out of here by the end of the day kind of a knock. It's not like they're not arresting you and pulling you out, So I would say BLM's land's pretty safe. However, for you, that's great. For me, east of the Mississippi, that means nothing.
Yeah, I think the critical thing on the knock is where and when. If it's in a place where you clearly could reasonably have pulled over to take a nap so you don't cause an accident,
rest area.
That's one thing. If, on the other hand, you're somewhere and you've got your ping pong table out and the lawn chairs and the awning is out,
right, then you're a nuisance.
Then you're going to have a much harder time.
Yeah, and they're going to go after, if you've got an old van that's rusty with Grateful Dead stickers on it and you've got trash bags around the van, you're don't be that guy. If you're parked in front of a school at 6 o'clock in the morning, you're probably not in a safe place.
No.
What do you think about this? And then I'll let you go after this, because I appreciate all the time you spent. Somebody suggested that if it's late at night and you can't find a place to park, you should go to the police and walk in and say, here's my situation. I don't have money for a hotel. I'm very tired. I have a van I can sleep in. I just need to know where I can sleep in my van and not bother anybody.
How about your parking lot? How about your parking lot, officer?
Well, yeah, exactly. And they have been successful with that because the cops...
Yeah, it's a great idea.
Like most people don't want hassles. They're not looking for hassles. And they're like, yeah, go park over there. And then that's a problem handled. The
critical thing is to say, I need 2 hours or whatever.
Yeah, give them a time.
And I'm worried that I'll fall asleep and cause a head-on collision.
Yeah.
So is there anywhere I can safely take a nap?
Right, it's a nap.
That you guys are okay with me being at?
Yep. Yeah.
And what was your name, officer?
Yeah.
Officer Smith. Okay, great. Then the Officer Smith said and then he calls Officer Smith. Officer, leave the guy alone. He told me he was going to be there.
Right. And that works with the police. That does not work at Walmart, where the assistant manager might say it's fine, but then the manager comes and it's not fine.
What percentage of Walmarts now even allow it?
Very few.
It used to be all of them, and now I haven't seen. I mean, none in Colorado Springs.
What's happening? People have wrecked it basically, and in a lot of places, the municipality has made it illegal, not Walmart. And the few times I've stayed in Walmart, I mean, I've been doing this a while. The few times I did to try to make it as less a hassle as possible is I stayed at Walmarts that were not the only business in the shopping center, and so I parked in I'm in a white van that looks like a utility van. I parked in between. And to my thinking, nobody's even going to pay attention to that. But if they do, they're going to think, oh, he must be the painter or something. And the thing is, if you're gone at 6 a.m., chances are no one's going to bother you unless you're in a place where this bad stuff happens. Like if you're in a drug alley or something,
Yeah. And the only thing I'd add is because there are a lot. There's an overlap between the Air Force, the military retiree community, and the van life community.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And the military retiree van lifers have options you don't have.
Oh, that's very true.
On bases and things.
Oh yeah, they've got great options.
Always be very careful, and just be smart and don't find yourself in Western Nebraska 2 a.m. exhausted.
Right.
Without having checked first, because the day before you could have been on Google finding out where in Western Nebraska, if I get sleepy, can I pull over?
Yeah, and Well, right. If you're not camping in Aurora, Nebraska, you're missing out. And I always have a plan B. Like if I go to Aurora and it's locked, like maybe there's a flood or something, I have a plan B. All right, one last question I just thought of, and I got a lot of crap for this. My thought was, if I'm parking someplace that I'm not entirely sure of, I will leave a note on the front seat that explains there's a person sleeping in the back, they're going to be gone by 6 a.m., and they're going to, they're traveling, they're not staying here. The idea being that a cop with a flashlight would see that. If you were a cop investigating a van like that and you saw that note on the front seat, what would you do?
That is a tougher question than you think.
Oh.
Because part of me goes, there's a guy in this back. He'll be gone by 6 a.m.
Right.
Or there's guys in the back casing the store for when it opens so they can jump to curry.
Yeah.
And they're trying to find a way not to have the cops check on them. I don't know. And no one will know except the particular cop that comes up to your window.
All right. So it would work with the right cop, but you don't know if you're going to get the right cop.
I mean, with me, if it was on the Academy, well, I mean,
Academy's different, yeah.
I mean, let's say I was downtown. I briefly was at Colorado Springs. I would go, boy, that is just not a normal thing for someone to do. The anti-normal bias. Right.
You hear cops say that a lot in these videos. It's like, well, that's not normal. Like, they're looking for the not normal. And that's why I'm a big proponent of stealth, because...
Now, one note that might make sense would be to say, pulled over to avoid falling asleep while driving can be reached at this cell phone number.
Yeah, put a phone number on there, right.
Put your phone number on there, which is you 3 feet in the back.
Right. But still, that'll wake you up. And
it'll wake you up and you go, oh, hi, officer.
Yeah, and then, and what I would do is I would I'd turn on all the lights and slide the slider wide open, and so that they could come around and see.
Yeah.
That's a little, vans are weird, right? So you're knocking on the driver's side glass, but if you're sleeping, you can't get there, and you don't want to come out of the van and
no, you do not want to come around the corner.
Yeah, you want to make contact with the cop before you come out of the van.
You want to wave and say, "I've got to get out of this side," and point.
Yeah.
and it's as we said, the van, for all the delights that it brings you and yours, you are volunteering for additional attention from police.
Yeah, that's true,
and it's worth it.
Oh, I agree. I need to make a podcast about that. Yeah.
Go in. Yeah, you should do 300 episodes. You should go into that armed with all the knowledge you can possibly put together about how to de-escalate.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you how much of my cop training was about de-escalating.
Good.
De-escalating.
Yeah. Well, Hal, this has been super, super valuable, and I gained new perspectives here. And
it's going to be a two-parter.
Again, all these videos you watch, or I watch, they're the outliers.
Just remember, nobody watches videos of airplanes successfully landing.
Although some of those people do, but
millions that do every day.
In general, right? Alrighty, Hal. Thank you. I will talk to you soon.
Have a great day.
Well, thank you for listening to episode 277. Music, as always, although there wasn't much this time, was by Simon Wagg. If you need to get a hold of me for any reason, I am jeff@builttogo.com. And until next time, remember the words of Norman Vincent Peale, who said, "Part of the happiness of life consists not in fighting battles, but in avoiding them. A masterly retreat is in itself a victory."